There will always be something that tries to disturb your peace. Someone will say something you do not like. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will criticize you. Someone will ignore you. Something will not happen the way you expected. And in those moments, you may feel that you must respond. You must explain yourself. You must defend yourself. You must prove that you are right. But ask yourself something very simple. Asterisk, do you really need to react to everything that touches your emotions? Because the moment you react without awareness, you give something outside of yourself control over something inside of yourself. Your peace, your attention, your energy, your mind. And this is where emotional strength begins. Not when you stop feeling, but when you stop allowing every feeling to become an action. You can feel anger without becoming angry. You can feel disappointment without becoming bitter. You can feel provoked without becoming aggressive. You can hear an insult without immediately returning one. You can be misunderstood without desperately trying to make everyone understand you. This is a different kind of strength, a quiet strength, a strength that does not need to announce itself. Most people believe being powerful means having the strongest reaction. But often, real power is found in the person who can remain still while everything around them is trying to create movement. When someone pushes your emotions, pause. When someone tries to pull you into an argument, pause. When your mind tells you to respond immediately, pause. Give yourself one breath, one moment. One space between what happened and what you choose to do next. Because inside that small space is your freedom. You are not required to answer every question. You are not required to correct every person. You are not required to defend every decision. You are not required to attend every conflict that invites you. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Not because you are weak, because you have decided that your energy has value. Your attention has value. Your peace has value. And you will no longer spend these things carelessly. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become clear. To know what deserves your attention and what does not. To know when to speak and when silence is wiser. To know when to walk away instead of trying to win. And slowly, you begin to discover something powerful. When you stop reacting to everything, you become much harder to shake. Not because the world becomes quieter, but because you become quieter within yourself. And when the world around you becomes chaotic, you no longer need to become chaotic with it. You remain, you breathe, you observe. And then you choose. There is a moment in life when you begin to understand that not everything deserves a reaction from you. Not every word needs an answer. Not every opinion needs a defense. Not every insult needs a response. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. And not every situation deserves a piece of your peace. Yet many people move through life as if everything around them has the right to control their emotions. Someone says something unpleasant, and they become angry. Someone ignores them, and they become insecure. Someone criticizes them, and they immediately feel the need to prove themselves. Someone behaves unfairly, and their entire day becomes disturbed. Without realizing it, they are allowing other people to hold the remote control to their inner world. Your emotional energy is one of the most valuable things you possess. Where you place your attention, your energy follows. If you constantly focus on what people say, what people think, what people are doing, and how they are treating you, you slowly lose the ability to focus on what actually matters. Your goals become less important. Your growth becomes less important. Your peace becomes less important. You become busy responding to life instead of consciously living it. This does not mean you should ignore everything or become emotionless. It means you must learn to distinguish between what deserves your attention and what does not. There is a difference between being aware and being consumed. You can notice someone's negativity without carrying it with you. You can hear criticism without allowing it to define you. You can recognize disrespect without immediately becoming disrespectful yourself. Imagine someone throws a stone into a calm lake. The water reacts immediately. Waves move outward from the point of impact. But you are not a lake that must react to every stone thrown into it. You have the ability to decide what enters your mind and what remains outside. Someone may throw anger toward you, but you do not have to catch it. Someone may offer you negativity, but you do not have to accept it as your own. This is where discipline begins. Before you respond, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow? Will reacting improve the situation? Am I responding from wisdom, or am I simply reacting from emotion? These questions create distance between you and the impulse to react. And within that distance, you regain control. Many conflicts continue because two people are reacting instead of thinking. One person speaks harshly, the other responds more harshly. Then the first person becomes defensive, and the second becomes even more emotional. What began as one sentence becomes an argument, and what could have ended in seconds becomes a conflict that consumes hours of mental energy. You do not always need to participate. Sometimes you protect your peace by refusing to enter the battle. There will always be people who misunderstand your silence. Let them. There will always be people who believe they know what is best for you. Let them believe. There will always be people who want a reaction, because your reaction gives them a sense of control. You do not have to give them that control. Your responsibility is not to manage everyone's perception of you. Your responsibility is to manage yourself. When you stop giving every situation your emotional energy, you begin to create an inner space where clarity can grow. You become less impulsive. You become more patient. You begin listening instead of immediately defending. You begin observing instead of judging. You begin choosing your battles instead of fighting every battle placed in front of you, and eventually something changes within you. Things that once disturbed you no longer have the same power. The same criticism arrives, but you remain calm. The same provocation appears, but you breathe before responding. The same misunderstanding happens, but you no longer feel desperate to explain yourself. This is not weakness. This is mastery. Your peace becomes something you protect deliberately. Your energy becomes something you invest wisely. And your emotions become something you experience without allowing them to dictate every decision you make. The world will continue to give you reasons to react, but you can choose to become the person who decides what deserves a reaction and what simply deserves to pass. There is a small moment that exists between what happens to you and what you decide to do about it. Most people move through life without noticing this moment. Something happens, an emotion rises, and immediately they act. Someone says something offensive, they answer. Someone criticizes them, they defend themselves. Someone disappoints them, they withdraw. Someone provokes them, they become angry. The reaction happens so quickly that they believe they had no choice. But there was a choice. It was simply hidden inside the space between the trigger and the response. This space is where emotional mastery begins. You cannot control every word people speak to you. You cannot control every situation that enters your life. You cannot control how people behave, how they judge you, or whether they understand your intentions. But you can learn to control what happens inside you. before you respond. A trigger is simply an event that creates an emotional movement within you. The event itself may be small, but the meaning you attach to it can make it powerful. Someone may not reply to your message, and your mind immediately creates a story. Perhaps they are ignoring you. Perhaps they do not respect you. Perhaps they are angry with you. Within seconds, your emotions begin reacting to a story that may not even be true. This is why the pause is so powerful. When you pause, you interrupt the automatic pattern. You give yourself enough time to observe what is happening, instead of becoming what is happening. Take one breath before answering. Feel the emotion without immediately expressing it. Notice the tension in your body. Notice the thoughts appearing in your mind. Ask yourself what you are about to create with your response. Because every reaction creates consequences. A harsh word can create another harsh word. An angry message can create another angry message. A defensive response can turn a simple misunderstanding into a serious conflict. But when you pause, you create another possibility. You can choose patience instead of anger, understanding instead of assumption, silence instead of unnecessary conflict, a clear response instead of an emotional one. This does not mean you should suppress your emotions. Suppression is not mastery. If you are angry, acknowledge that you are angry. If you are hurt, acknowledge that you are hurt. If you are disappointed, allow yourself to recognize the disappointment. But do not confuse feeling an emotion with obeying it. An emotion can be present without becoming your commander. Think of anger as a wave. You do not need to fight the wave, and you do not need to become the wave. You can watch it rise, reach its highest point, and eventually fall. If you act at the highest point of your anger, you may say something you later regret. If you wait, the intensity changes. Your mind becomes clearer. What seemed urgent a few moments ago may no longer seem important. This is why emotionally strong people often appear calm in situations where others become reactive. They are not necessarily feeling less. They have simply trained themselves to create space before action. That space gives them perspective. Instead of asking, "How dare they do this to me?" they ask, "What is the wisest response?" Instead of asking, "How can I make them regret this?" they ask, "What outcome do I actually want?" Instead of asking, "How do I prove that I am right?" they ask, "Is proving myself worth losing my peace?" These questions change everything. The more you practice the pause, the stronger it becomes. At first, you may remember to pause only after you have already reacted. Then you begin noticing the moment while it is happening. Eventually, you notice the trigger before the reaction takes control. That is when your freedom becomes greater. You no longer live at the mercy of every emotion that enters your mind. You become the observer of your thoughts, the guardian of your words, and the master of your actions. Life will continue to test you. People will continue to provoke you. Unexpected situations will continue to appear. But your goal is not to create a life where nothing disturbs you. Your goal is to become the kind of person who can remain conscious, even when something does disturb you. Pause before speaking, breathe before deciding, observe before judging, and choose your response only after you have returned to yourself. One of the greatest sources of emotional exhaustion is trying to control what was never yours to control. You cannot control how another person thinks. You cannot control what they say about you. You cannot control whether they respect you, understand you, appreciate you, agree with you, or treat you exactly as you wish. Yet so much of human suffering comes from fighting against these realities. You want someone to behave differently, so you become frustrated. You want someone to understand your intentions, so you explain yourself again and again. You want someone to recognize your value, so you try to prove it. You want someone to stop criticizing you, so you argue with them. But the more you try to control another person's mind, the more power you give that person over your own mind. Real strength begins when you recognize the boundary between what belongs to you and what does not. Their words belong to them, their opinions belong to them, their choices belong to them, their behavior belongs to them, but your response belongs to you, your attitude belongs to you, your decisions belong to you, your attention belongs to you, your peace belongs to you. This distinction may appear simple, but practicing it can transform the way you experience life. Imagine someone speaks badly about you. You cannot enter their mind and remove the opinion they have created. You cannot force them to see your character correctly. You can explain yourself if necessary, but after that, the choice belongs to them. If they still choose to misunderstand you, continuing to fight for their approval only drains your energy. There is freedom in saying, I cannot control what they think, but I can control how much space their opinion occupies inside me. This does not mean becoming careless about other people. It means becoming responsible for yourself. When someone is angry, you do not have to become angry with them. When someone is disrespectful, you do not have to become disrespectful. When someone is impatient, you do not have to surrender your patience. When someone behaves emotionally, you do not have to allow their emotions to become your emotions. You can remain grounded. You can listen. You can set a boundary. You can walk away. You can respond firmly without losing control. That is emotional independence. Many people believe strength means winning every argument, but sometimes strength means refusing to participate in an argument that cannot produce anything valuable. Sometimes strength means allowing another person to have the last word, because you no longer need the last word to feel secure. You do not need to prove your worth to everyone. You do not need everyone to approve of you. You do not need everyone to understand you. And you certainly do not need to control everyone around you, to feel safe within yourself. Your responsibility is to control your own actions. If someone insults you, you decide whether to answer with dignity or anger. If someone rejects you, you decide whether to collapse into self-doubt or continue walking forward. If someone disappoints you, you decide whether to carry resentment or learn from the experience. The event may be outside your control, but your response remains within your reach. This is where discipline becomes more important than emotion. Your emotions may tell you to react immediately. Your ego may tell you to prove yourself. Your pride may tell you to fight back. But you can listen without obeying. You can say, I feel this, but I do not have to act from it. That sentence represents a powerful shift in consciousness. You begin to understand that another person's behavior does not have to determine your behavior. Their lack of control does not require you to lose yours. The world becomes lighter when you stop trying to manage everyone else's choices. Let people misunderstand you when explanation has become pointless. Let people disagree with you when agreement is impossible. Let people leave when they choose to leave. Let people reveal who they are through their actions. You do not have to chase every person, correct every opinion, or repair every situation. Instead, return your attention to yourself. Ask what you can improve. Ask what you can learn. Ask what response reflects the person you want to become. Because you may not be able to control the world around you, but you can become disciplined enough that the world no longer controls the person within you. There are moments in life when silence becomes more powerful than any explanation you could give. Not every situation needs an answer. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Not every insult deserves a counterattack. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected immediately. Sometimes the strongest response is the decision to remain quiet, observe what is happening, and refuse to give your emotions control over your behavior. Many people are uncomfortable with silence because they believe silence means weakness. They feel that if they do not respond, others may think they are afraid, defeated, or unable to defend themselves. So they speak, they explain, they argue, they prove. They continue talking long after the situation has stopped being productive. But strength is not measured by how quickly you can respond. Strength is measured by whether you can remain in control when responding would be easier than remaining calm. Silence gives you something that emotional reactions take away. Space. When you are angry, silence gives your mind time to settle. When you are hurt, silence prevents temporary emotions from becoming permanent words. When someone is provoking you, silence refuses to reward the provocation. When someone is trying to pull you into unnecessary conflict, silence allows you to step outside the situation instead of becoming trapped inside it. This does not mean you should remain silent when something truly needs to be addressed. There are times when you must speak. There are moments when boundaries need to be communicated, injustice needs to be confronted, and important conversations need to happen. But speaking from clarity is different from speaking from emotional impulse. The difference is intention. Before you speak, ask yourself, am I speaking because this needs to be said or because I need to release my emotion? That question can save you from many unnecessary conflicts. When you speak only because you are angry, your words may become weapons. You may say things you do not truly mean. You may attack someone's character instead of addressing the situation. You may turn a small disagreement into a lasting wound. And once words leave your mouth, you cannot pull them back. Silence gives you the opportunity to choose your words instead of becoming controlled by them. There is also a deeper form of silence, the silence of not needing to prove yourself. Imagine someone misunderstands your intentions. Your first instinct may be to explain everything. You want them to see your side. You want them to know that you were right. But sometimes, no amount of explanation will change someone's perspective. If you continue trying, you may exhaust yourself attempting to control something that belongs to another person. At that moment, silence can become an act of self-respect. You know who you are. You know what you intended. You know the path you are walking. You do not need every person to understand it. The same is true when someone tries to provoke you. A person who wants a reaction often gains power when you give one. Your anger becomes their entertainment. Your frustration becomes their victory. But when you remain calm, you remove the reward they were seeking. You do not have to defeat them. You simply refuse to become what they are trying to make you become. This is why silence requires discipline. It is easy to react. It is easy to send a message, raise your voice, defend your ego, or return an insult. It requires much greater strength to breathe, step back, and decide that your peace is more valuable than winning a moment. The goal is not to use silence as punishment. Silence should not become manipulation, revenge, or emotional withdrawal. True silence comes from inner stability. It says, I have nothing to prove here. I will not allow this moment to control me. When you practice this, you begin to notice how much unnecessary energy you once spent trying to be understood, accepted, or validated. You stop chasing the last word. You stop explaining every decision. You stop responding to every opinion. You stop fighting battles that were never yours. And slowly, presence changes. You become calmer. You become harder to provoke. You become more deliberate with your words. People may still test you. They may still misunderstand you. They may still speak against you. But you no longer feel compelled to respond to every disturbance. You understand that silence is not the absence of strength. Sometimes, silence is the evidence that strength is already there. To become unshakable does not mean that you will never feel anger, fear, disappointment, sadness, or frustration. It does not mean that nothing will ever hurt you. You are human, and emotions will always be part of your experience. The real goal is not to eliminate emotion, but to develop the discipline to experience emotion without allowing it to control your decisions, your words, and your direction. A person with inner discipline understands that feelings are temporary, but the consequences of actions can remain for a long time. You may feel angry for a few minutes, but a sentence spoken in anger can damage a relationship for years. You may feel disappointed today, but a decision made from disappointment can change the direction of your life. You may feel rejected by someone, but allowing that rejection to define your worth can keep you trapped long after the moment has passed. This is why emotional discipline matters. When an emotion rises, you do not have to immediately obey it. You can feel anger and remain silent. You can feel fear and continue moving. You can feel sadness and still take care of yourself. You can feel frustration and still choose patience. This is what makes a person unshakable. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to remain conscious while emotion is present. Think about a mountain during a storm. The storm may be violent. The wind may be powerful. The rain may strike against the mountain. But the mountain does not chase the storm. It does not fight the wind. It remains rooted while the weather changes around it. Your mind can become like that. Life will bring storms. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Opportunities will disappear. Some people will leave. Others will criticize you. There will be days when nothing seems to go according to your expectations. But you can train yourself to remain rooted, instead of allowing every external event to determine your internal state. This requires daily practice. You practice by pausing before reacting. You practice by observing your thoughts. You practice by becoming aware of what triggers you. You practice by choosing difficult patience over easy anger. You practice by walking away from unnecessary conflict. You practice by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you strengthen yourself. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. Your mind may demand an immediate reaction. Your ego may want recognition. Your emotions may tell you that you must respond now. But you learn to wait. You learn that urgency is not always truth. Just because you feel something strongly does not mean you must act immediately. This is one of the most important lessons of emotional maturity. A thought can enter your mind without becoming a belief. An emotion can enter your body without becoming an action. A difficult situation can enter your life without becoming your identity. You remain the observer. You remain responsible for your response. You remain capable of choosing. And the more you practice this, the less dependent your peace becomes on external circumstances. You no longer need everyone to treat you perfectly in order to remain calm. You no longer need every plan to work in order to remain hopeful. You no longer need constant approval in order to feel valuable. You begin carrying your stability from within. This does not make you indifferent. In fact, it allows you to care more deeply because you are no longer controlled by fear and reaction. You can listen without becoming overwhelmed. You can love without losing yourself. You can correct someone without hatred. You can walk away without revenge. Your strength becomes quiet. You do not need to announce that you are strong. People can feel it through the way you respond. When pressure increases, you become more deliberate. When conflict appears, you become more composed. When failure arrives, you become more willing to learn. When someone tries to provoke you, you remember that your reaction belongs to you. This is the path toward becoming unshakable. Not a life without difficulty, but a mind that learns how to remain steady inside difficulty. Because the world will never stop testing you. There will always be another challenge, another opinion, another disappointment, another unexpected moment. You cannot remove all storms from your life, but you can strengthen the person standing inside them. And when your discipline becomes stronger than your impulses, you discover that true power was never about controlling everything around you.